Hey everybody, Mr. Wagner here. So today, let's see here, we got Breakout 9, so we're going to bump this up to Breakout 10, and we're going to start out with a little bit of refactoring. So one of the first things that I always like to do when I'm refactoring is I always like to add a lot of comments in here. As I was looking through the code, I noticed that there was a lot of places where it would be good to have some more comments. So let's see if we could do that. Kind of in between anything that's newly happening, I like to put a new comment as for what this little bit of code does. So like this little import area, this does the import of for the Pygame stuff, and then before all these, oh, by the way, when you're dealing with PyCharm, you can minimize these things, so it makes it kind of nice. Let's see here, this is where I'm going to put all of my classes. Okay, so we always have all the classes at the top. And then make bricks, this is the functions. Here are all the functions. Okay, so we'll put those there. Yeah, so like this class, if you're sort of done with the brick class, if you hit that little minus sign, then it goes away. And the same with make bricks. So it makes your code a little bit easier to read. Okay, let's see here, line 51. This is where we are initializing our Pygame stuff for lack of a better term. This line 56 through 62, that's where I was showing you how to use the that object class. So let's get rid of that. Let's see here, line 56 through 59, this is where we are defining our screen, our Pygame screen. Okay, this here, 61, this looks like all the ball stuff, defining a ball. Let's see here, this bit here looks like defining the paddle. Okay, so that looks good. Here's where we're making our bricks. And here is our initial draw. Drawing commands. Okay, and looks like 84 here is our game loop. Probably should have been doing this all along, but I didn't. Obviously here in this for loop, this is our events, including keyboard. Okay, so here, let's see here, line 101, we're checking to see if the ball is colliding with the brick. So this would be ball check for ball/brick interaction. These two lines here, 109 and 112, these are where we are bouncing off of the screen walls. Okay, so bounce ball off walls and floor and ceiling. So I'm referring to the floor and the ceiling as the, you know, the bottom of the screen, the top of the screen, and then the two walls, okay? Let's see here, like Wine 115, this is basically ball paddle interaction. Let's see here. Here is where we are updating the ball position. Let's see here, line 124. This is where we update the paddle position. Okay. And then 133, 134, this is our drawing commands. Here's where we draw our bricks. And then here is our final update. And then we are out of the while loop and we quit. Okay, so inside this game loop, let's just talk a little bit about this. You know, the first thing we do is we look to see if there's any events. And then we are checking to see if anything hits each other. So does the ball and the brick hit each other? Or does the ball or the walls hit each other? Or the ball and the floor and the ceiling hit each other? Or the ball and the paddle hit each other? Okay, so it's kind of like from line 90 all the way down to, say, line 117, we are checking to see if anything happens within our game, okay? And then line 119 and down to where we draw, we are checking, we are updating the game based upon what happened above, and then we draw, and then we continue on, okay? So it's sort of organized in a nice little manner. One, we check to see if something gets hit. Two, we update the positions. And three, we move along. Okay, so very good. Now, so what we're going to do on this particular one, I was going to go ahead and create a ball class for you so we could represent the ball as an object. That became very crazy very quickly, so I decided to hold off on creating a ball object because I think it's going to just confuse things. But I do want to do a couple things. Let me run this, and I want to just take a look at when this is running. So notice that this ball, every time it bounces, it's bouncing at a 45-degree angle. Now, if you go and find like an online breakout game, you'll notice that the ball doesn't always go to 45. Sometimes it's more vertical, sometimes it's almost flat, okay? And that has to do with, like, when this ball is moving, it's moving like up 6 pixels and over 6 pixels, or down 6 pixels and over 6 pixels. But imagine if it went like up 7 pixels and over 4 pixels. Well, then your angle is going to be a little bit different. Or if it goes down 3 pixels and over 10 pixels, then your angle is going to be different. Now, in professional games, you know, there's a word for that, and those are called vectors. Vectors have a velocity and a direction, okay, a speed and a direction. But I don't really want to get into that, because what happens there is we start having to talk about sines and cosines and angles, and you know, very, very quickly that can become kind of kind of hard to understand. Okay, so instead what we're going to do is we're going to sort of fake our angles by changing our dx and our dy to make it move up or down, you know, to make like the up and the up down motion and the side motion a little bit off, and you'll get different angles. Okay, and I really did think about how to write this little bit of code so it wouldn't be too terribly difficult to figure out. Okay, first thing is I want to bump up the speed of this paddle. So that should be pretty easy. We just got to go into our paddle code and see where that is. So let's do that first. Okay, we are going to go here. Here's our key down event. If we press the right button, the paddle dx goes 5, or the left paddle goes -5. So we're just going to change those to 7 and -7. Values like that, you can go and change them all you want. That's easy. Okay. But okay, so let's go back and run that again, because I want to talk about this. Okay, so I want you to notice that this paddle knows how it's going a lot faster, and when I bump it, when I hit the ball, I'm always getting a 45. But what if, depending on where I hit the ball, it gives me a different angle? So what we're going to do here is we're going to take that paddle and we're going to split it into 6 areas. Okay, we're going to split that paddle into 6 areas. So if it hits like the first area, it'll do one thing. If it hits the second area, it'll do another thing. The third area, it'll do another thing. The fourth area, another thing. Fifth and sixth. Okay, so depending on where the ball hits the paddle, it's going to bounce differently, including if it hits, you know, like coming in from one direction, it may bounce back exactly the same direction. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. Now, what we need to do in order to do that is we need to split the paddle up into multiple directions. Okay, so let's do that first. Let's close this. And let's go down and look at where our ball and the paddle interact. Okay, so right now we got, if the pie game, if the ball rectangle interacts with the paddle rectangle, then we just change the y component. Okay, now our dy right now happens to be either 6 or -6, depending on what it is. Okay, so what we're going to do, we got to do a couple things. One, first off, we got to split that paddle rectangle into a whole bunch of different things. And then instead of checking to see if we're colliding the ball with the entire paddle, we just check to see if it collides with each part of the paddle. And we'll do that with a for loop. But first off, what we need to do is we need to break that paddle up. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take that paddle and we're going to split that paddle up into 6 distinct rectangles, and then we're going to check to see if the ball hits any of those rectangles, and if they do, then we're going to bounce it slightly different. So the first thing we need to do is we need to take that paddle rectangle and we need to split that out into 6 spots. Okay, and that shouldn't be terribly hard. Let's see what we can do. First off, let's create ourselves the width, temp width, okay, of one section of the paddle. So we're going to say temp width equals the paddle rectangle //6. That // basically means we are doing integer division, so we are going to divide that paddle rectangle out into 6 spaces. Now, integer division / just means basically divide it, but in integer division on a computer, it just rounds down. Okay, so So there's no rounding up if it's over a half. It's always just rounding down. Just the way the computers work. Okay, so there's our width. Now let's give ourselves a temporary rectangle to work with. Okay, and we're going to just make a copy of the paddle rectangle. Copy. Okay, so that creates a copy of the paddle rectangle. So if we change our temporary rectangle dot width to equal the temp width, okay, now suddenly that rectangle is only a sixth of the size. Okay, so right now we have our paddle rectangle, which is big, but our temp rectangle is 1/6 the size. Okay, so now our second temporary rectangle will need to be that same size, but just scooched over a bit. And the third will just need to be scooched over a little bit. And the fourth needs to be scooched over a little bit. And the way you do that is you work with the X value of the temporary rectangle. Okay? But what we do need to do is we need to put a for loop in there, so we go through the first section of the rectangle, the second section of the rectangle, third, all the way up to the sixth. Okay, let's put that right here. We'll type in for I in range of 6. Okay, so the first time we go through this loop, I is going to be 0. So our temp rectangle, this will be the first temp rectangle. And the width, okay, so that's all good. Let's do temp rect dot x. Okay, so that's our x value of the temporary rectangle. And we are going to say that is going to be whatever the temp rectangle dot x is, plus however wide it is. So that, remember, that's temp width, because we already have that. Whoops. Temp width, and then times I. Okay, so when I is 0, then our temp rectangle x is going to be what it is, right? When it's 1, it's going to be whatever the x is with the width added onto it one time. When it's 2, it's whatever the x is with the width added onto it 2 times, and then 3 times, and 4. So you see how it's splitting up that paddle, okay? So now what we can do is basically this stuff here. I am going to do a Command X and get rid of that. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to say if the Pygame rectangle, so we're checking to see if the ball is connecting to the temporary rectangle. Okay. And if it does that, it's going to bounce it. And let's do a break, because we've already bounced it. There's no point checking anymore. Okay, so let's run that. Let me clean this up just a little bit. Okay, let's run this. And hopefully it'll all run. Up, we got a paddle rect divided by 6. Okay, so the paddle rect dot width. We have to catch the width of the paddle and then divide that by 6. Okay, so our paddle should still be bouncing, but what we want to do is we want it to bounce different depending on which part of the rectangle we are bouncing on. Okay, So let's do this. Let's create ourselves a list of our bounces. Okay, so we're going to say DX list, and we're going to say if it hits the first segment of the paddle, let's do -7, and if it hits the second one, maybe -5, and then -3, and then 3, and then 5, and then 7. Okay, so our DX, depending on which part of the paddle we hit, is going to change to -7, -5, -3, 5, or 7. And the way we do that is we just say DX is equal to DX list sub I. Okay, meaning the ith element of the list will become the new DX. Okay, should be kind of interesting. So let's run this and see what we get. So when I bounce, notice when I bounce, oh, see how it bounced backwards. And if I hit it over here, now I got a really big bounce. Let's see. Okay, now it actually slowed down. So now see how the game is a lot more interesting because the angles are more interesting on the ball. And if I hit it on the far side, it should bounce backwards. Whoop. It would be good if I knew how to play. Yeah, see how it bounced backwards. Okay, so that's really kind of clever. Let me just see if there's any other notes that I did. But again, all we did was we split up the areas of the paddle, and then based upon where the ball hit the paddle, we changed the X value to bounce it differently to get a different angle out of the ball. And so I'll let you play with that and think about that. Hopefully this video is not too long. I'll try to edit it down a little bit. And everybody, take care and have a great day.